so heavy, but she's sweet. She is my almost HK416.
What she said?
Like many firearms built by Heckler Koch, the HK416 has something almost mystical about it. Well, I tried to build my own and this is what I came up with. The base firearm of this rifle is the HK MR223, which is the European version of the MR556, which again, both are semi-auto versions of the HK416. So what are the main differences? The MR223 has a almost bull barrel type contour, so the barrel is thicker and more heavier. Therefore, it will never be a real HK416. Also, the MR223 has an lug extension that prevents you from installing an HK416 bolt carrier. This way, the MR223 is supposed to be not convertible to full auto by normal tools. Speaking of full auto, for my project I wanted to be on the safe side, so I didn't want it to get an original HK416 full auto low receiver and convert it to semi-auto by just putting a semi-auto trigger unit in it, because it would still be a full auto low receiver, and you know, I'm not going to get into trouble for that one. Luckily enough, I was able to find a true semi-auto HK416 lower. As you can see, this is an original HK made. Well, it is an HK416C lower receiver. The 416C was just offered for a short time by Heckler Koch, which was the most compact of the HK416 variants. And this lower receiver turned up in Militaria and surplus stores in Germany and Austria. And I guess this was probably meant as a spare part, or was probably meant for a law enforcement contract that wasn't fulfilled and therefore ended up in my hands. Unfortunately, this low receiver came completely empty. That means it's missing the lugs on the left and on the right side. You can see the holes in there, where the lugs should go. That would actually hold the rods of the retractable stock. So, it's definitely not ideal if you have holes in your receiver, because that could lead to dirt, debris and other stuff coming into the trigger unit and maybe giving you a malfunction. I'm still arguing with myself if I should glue or weld something into the lower receiver to close it, because I kinda like that it's a rare part and I don't want to permanently alter it. So if you guys maybe have a great idea for a solution of how to close the holes without making the lower receiver altered in some way, please tell me in the comments. I'm happy to hear possible solutions for this. That's the lower receiver the MR223 came with. It has pretty much the same feature as the HK416A5 lower receiver, except for full auto, of course. That means it has a magazine release on both sides, as well as the embiggened bolt release and bolt release on the other side as well. The safety is on both sides too. Because the rifle already came with the modern lower receiver, I decided to build my HK416C lower receiver in the style of an older 416 model, especially the 416D. That's why it, for example, has this old stock with the integrated cheek rest and still the shorter castle nut. You can see the modern versions have a bigger castle nut for more safety. Well, it would be definitely wise to put a bigger castle nut on there, but again, I wanted to make it close to the 416D variant. Of course, this one lacks the bolt release on the other side and lacks the magazine release on this side, but that's period correct for a 416D lower receiver. I could find most parts for the lower receiver at the Militaria store, the same one that sold this one. I just had to take a few tiny bits and teeny weeny springs and stuff like that from an AR-15 lower receiver kit. For example, the stuff that's needed to do the retention on the takedown pin. With my HK416, I decided to put the Geissele MR556 trigger unit in it, which has a very nice field stop point, and after that it's just a very slight press to release. This is a good improvement over the MR223 original trigger. Unfortunately, with the Geissele trigger in it, you can't put the gun into safety without the hammer cock. That's one of the features the true HK416 has, and the MR223 has as well. Even if the hammer is up, you can put it to safety. So you don't need to be there to put in a safety. If you already Googled prices for the Geissele MR556 trigger, it's expensive as hell. It's almost $200 more than the ordinary AR-15 receivers. So if you're wondering, why don't you just put an AR-15 trigger in it? Well, you could put a standard AR-15 trigger into the lower receiver of the HK416 and MR223 and MR556, but you would have to take the firing pin safety out or modify the firing pin to make it work properly, and both isn't recommended. Now let's move to the upper receiver. This one has the original slimline HKey handguard. Most people hate the handguard, and it's easily to say why, because it uses HKey, which is pretty much the retarded cousin of keymod. And no, you cannot use keymod onto the handguard, you have to use HKey. And HKey is only available by Heckler Koch right now, and they only sell Picatinny rail segments for it. So that pretty much takes the idea of a modular handguard right away. Why do I still keep this one? Because I really like the shape of it. It's really nice to grab the firearm, even with accessory mounted, so that's why I couldn't really find it in my heart to get rid of it right now. And yes, people, I'm aware that this handguard that is part of the HK416A5 isn't period correct with a lower receiver that I'm trying to build from an old model. But again, it's too good to get rid of it. I do have a Picatinny style handguard as well, so I can switch whenever I want. And I mean whenever I want, because Heckler Koch made a nice changing system for this handguard. It's simple, a screw. So the idea is to just get this screw out, and the free float handguard should slip out right over the barrel. Of course, after the screw, it would be intelligent if I would remove the suppressor as well, or else the handguard won't come off. Bing, getting rid of the suppressor and just giving it a nice push. And there goes the handguard. And if you want to install another handguard, you just put it on and that's it. You probably noticed by now that I run a MOL C1 laser sight on the handguard, and Heckler Koch actually claims that if you put the handguard back on and put the screw back on, it will return to zero. I haven't dragged this rifle through mud and all the diverse conditions yet, so I cannot completely positively say that it will return to zero all the time, but the few times I put the handguard away and give another handguard on top of it, it did work, and the MOL laser stayed where it should be. Now, while I have this off, let me talk about the gas block. The MR223 doesn't come with an adjustable gas block, but if you're looking at the handguard, it has the markings for the adjustable gas block on it. Why doesn't it come with an adjustable gas block then? My guess is that Heckler Koch did just a fixed gas block on the original MR223 because shooting suppressed is not civilian enough, and he wanted to make sure that the MR223 was be able to be sold in Germany and other European countries with strict gun law. Well, as I mentioned before, the handguard is the same as on the HK416A5 that has an adjustable gas block with two settings, and therefore it has the markings on it for the gas block, even though the MR223 usually doesn't come with an adjustable gas block. Well, that didn't keep me from changing to an adjustable gas block. Because of the other barrel contour, you can't just use an HK416 gas block, but there is a company in Germany called Burg that makes an adjustable gas block with 5 settings. You turn this to one of the 5 settings and you are ready to fire suppressed. Well, unfortunately, I opted for the short variant. In this one, you can see this one is cut off in the middle and there is one with double the length that has a lever that is more easily to manipulate. As I said, unfortunately, I opted for the short one because I thought, depending on the suppressor I get on, it would maybe block the suppressor. Thing is, it doesn't block the suppressor, but now it's very hard to turn with such a small lever. So sometimes I do need to take out the pillars of the leverman to turn it into position. But I usually just shoot this firearm suppressed anyway, so right now I'm keeping it at the suppressed position until needed otherwise. Another small design failure at this thing is, if you put back on the handguard, you will notice that it's now impossible to see what position it is on because the actual position marker is up there. Even now with the bit of dirt, it's already hard to see. If the handguard is over it, it's not visible at all. So it would be nice if Burg would have made additional markings on the front of the gas block. If you install another rail system, which I'm trying to do right now, there we go. Just trying to get it on. There it goes. With the rail system that was originally made for the HK416, the older version that is a bit shorter, the gas block slightly sticks out of the rail handguard and therefore it is a bit easier to see what position it is, and it's also easier to see if it actually correctly locked into the position. That's the little small thing here. If that one isn't up but down, it's not locked into position. Again, with the other handguard on it, the longer one, you can't see it and therefore you don't know what position it is on. Anyway, if you want to get sure, just remove the handguard, take a quick peek and put it back on. As I just mentioned, I'm running my wannabe HK416 mainly suppressed, and I started with a Rotex 5 and switched to an a-tec Flow 1+3 suppressor that has a flow-through design and also a pretty nice mean look to it, right? Now here's my light and laser setup. I'm using a MOL C1 laser, that's a green laser plus infrared laser plus infrared illuminator, as well as a Surefire M300V. That one has the head, KM1E head, that's also adjustable to put infrared light on. Of course, both of this is to make it night vision compatible. I'm using a Unity Tactical hot button for the light, because therefore I can reach all the controls of the MOL and the light with my thumb. If you follow me on Instagram, you've probably noticed that I'm not a big fan of AFGs. Actually, this is the only firearm I currently have an AFG on. I'm using this one by Brügger & Thomann. The reason why I'm using this one is, with the light and laser setup, I need to get some distance between the handguard so that my fingers won't go up something here, but have a good grip here and my thumb can still reach the controls. I'll try to do that with a stubby before, but it didn't work quite as well as I wanted to. So for this case, and that's right now the only case, I'm using an AFG on a rifle. Also, the AFG does help to control the firearm's weight, and this one weighs a lot. In this configuration, without ammo, it's 5.78 kilogram. That's more than 12 pounds. in a wannabe carbine. Well, this rifle sure is a workout, and to help not getting too much strained by this workout, I'm going for the AFG to keep my hand in a healthy position and not cry, oh, my hand gets before my gun was too heavy, blah, blah, blah. Let's talk sights now. My main optic is a Zeiss V8 1.128 low power variable optic. And this one has a 36mm tubus. That's a huge thing for a LPVO. And this gives it a very good light translation, very good light transmission, and an excellent image quality. So this one is top notch. But it's not a tactical scope. This one was actually made for hunting. I don't know why hunters get good scopes. Shouldn't we as tactical shooters get a better scopes? Anyway, because of that, I installed a custom ballistics turret. So I don't have the usual hunting style turret. And this one, it was actually made by the Austrian company Fabrikat. The mount is also German. It's made by the German company MAK. You probably noticed by now that I don't have any backup iron sights on it. Well, that's because there isn't much space left to put a backup iron sight on there. Well, at least maybe an offside backup iron sight would work, but putting it the offside in front of them all wouldn't make much sense. That's why I opted for a red dot as a backup optic. And I'm using a Valhalla Tactical Rook mount. That's R-U-K, huh? It's probably some Viking thing. Rook! Anyway, it's the Rook mount. And the Rook mount is adjustable for angle. So I could get in that perfect sweet spot between the scope and the maul so that they won't obscure my view through the red dot. I was using a smaller red dot sight before, but it changed to the Micro Aimpoint T2 because I wanted something that is night vision compatible. So let's do a quick count. I have one scope here that runs with and without battery. I have one red dot here that only runs with battery. And I have the laser, visible and infrared laser that runs with battery too. So I have actually 3 sights and 2 of them need battery, but 1 don't need battery. I hope that 3 sights are enough to make it through a day at the shooting range. How does the rifle perform? Well, I'm not an operator, so I haven't dragged it through mud. I've worn in a warzone with it. I can just say so far it worked for me. I didn't have any malfunctions. Again, I'm not putting it through an ice test or something like that. But even just being at the shooting range and doing tactical shooting scenarios at IPC and stuff like that, you noticed how freakishly heavy this setup is with all the accessories put on it, the bull pearl and stuff like that. But I won't body shame this rifle for being overweight because I'm overweight too. And all you other chubby guys out there, I feel you. What I usually get from people when they see this setup is, A, you stupid for spending so much money, and B, why the hell are you putting a low power variable optic on an 11-inch firearm? Because I want to. Seriously. Even a red dot would be enough to hit a silhouette at 300 meters and probably even farther away if you're just a somewhat decent shooter. But I don't just want to hit the silhouette, I actually want to see if that silhouette is a no-shoot or a target. And that's way easier if you got some sort of magnification on your rifle. Is this rifle really worth the extra money just because it's an HK? That really depends what you want to achieve with it. My goal was to get a rifle that's as close as possible to a semi-auto HK416 without getting into legal trouble, and I think I achieved that. So I don't regret spending so much money. My wallet does though. If you're still thinking about buying an MR223 or MR556, then you actually decided not to buy one. Because there is hardly a good reason for a recreational shooter to argue why a MR223 or MR556 with the much higher price than a direct gas AR-15s are worth the extra money. Like with many Heckler Koch firearms, the sales of the MR223 and MR556 are driven by emotion. You don't buy them because they offer a good bang for the buck, you buy them because they are Heckler Koch firearms. If you like these wise words of your favorite friendly Austrian gun guru, please feel free to visit scarity.redbubble.com and look at the designs I made myself and maybe buy a t-shirt, a mug or a sticker or whatever fancies your taste. Oh, I almost forgot. Will the fake HK416 carry handle? Yes, it would carry handle, but just look at all the stuff up there. I really don't feel like getting all of this off to mount the G46 carry handle. So, sorry fanboys and girls, but this won't happen today. And the only thing left to say is, until we meet again, tschüssi!